started talking about the second stage in the Birur of Nefesh HaBahamis. After his-hafcha, where it is merely submitting to this which the Nefesh HaElokis recognizes. It admits that Nefesh HaElokis has a point, which is a tremendous breakthrough on the part of Hashem. This is called Milo. It broke out from its own confines and recognizes a greater truth outside of itself, the source. But then, this is only because it is being submissive. But then there's a second stage. This is called his-hafcha. Hafcha by translation means transformation. Not only that it changes its mind, with all its being it goes elsewhere, but its being is changed, itself is changed. Okay, the second line from the bottom. Avo ba, mol hava elekecho. This is Mila. But this is a Mila that is affected by the Mebashin himself, Milo. This refers to, this opens up the Avo to Elokus, the Mala beyond reason. We already discussed this phenomenon. The principle of Mila is that Mila removes the worldly covering. When the worldly covering is removed, the nefesh begins to identify itself as that which Hashem made it. Identify the qualities that are there on the fact that it is a godly creation. So at first, it still is aware of itself. And therefore, its ahava is based on Talmudas, on awareness. But then there's a second stage where the Mila is performed by Hashem. The opening up the confines, the worldly confines, is done by Hashem himself. Again, we have to refocus and understand that which Hashem created in itself represents a godly presence. And its true orientation, when it orients from the perspective and on the way it really sees itself from inside, then it sees only godliness. Because this is where it comes from. Except that it was put into the world. And thus, this sense is undercover. This is where Mila comes in. And the second Mila is that Hashem himself opens up the confines. And that brings forth an ahava to Elokus. L'mayla mitamadas. What's it? L'mayla mitamadas. An ahava that is not engaging one's own thinking, recognizing only this is correct, this is right. The Nefesh has it right. It's an ahava that comes from the ahava itself. It is like the reality itself surfaces. Doesn't need to to justify it and explain. This is the only truth there is. This is what we discussed yesterday of emunah. Chochmah has a shetter, has a spread. Emunah has no spread. Emunah is just one simple recognition, a point of truth, and it does not lend itself to be explained and understood. It is the source itself. And this is revealed, it cannot be revealed by one's own effort. Because as long as it's one's own effort, you are still conscious of yourself and conscious of the world. Therefore, there is a second step that the Rebbe comes in, and the Rebbe lifts the neshama out of its confines. And this opens up to Ava Shalomar Mitamadas, an Ava that is beyond reason. Beyond reason means beyond awareness of the Ava itself. The whole reality changes. It is not a worldly reality, it is a divine reality. Now we are on the last line. This is provided from above. This is not something that a created entity can recognize on itself as a created entity. But it is this which is given from above. Then it's a divine presence. Not a worldly presence. Al-yeday, as a result of that, his-hafcha is affected, his-hafcha, a transformation, changeover, complete turnover. Where darkness is transformed into light. Again, we spoke about this. In here, we mean literally, darkness becomes light. In simple terms, it means darkness is that which represents only the touchable, only the worldly. But then, when out of this darkness, a realization comes forth that this worldly entity is really a divine creation, and it represents divine purpose, divine will, divine ahava. Why the Rebbe created? Because the Rebbe wants nafkidus. So you focus on the Rebbe's want, ahava, why the Rebbe this is what the Rebbe wanted. The Rebbe wanted that we should recognize him from chashech. Then the chashech itself becomes neher, becomes bright. Because this is when Hashem's will truly is vested. As we always say, here in simple terms in our identity, that mitzvahs ma'asiyos, mitzvahs of action, are ultimately the superior, the true Hashem, true divine will. With seichel you can reach very deeply, and you understand, you appreciate, and so forth. And it's very important also to reveal the union in kedusha in yourself, and so. But ultimately, the real Ratzon Hashem is in my mitzvahs ma'asiyos, mitzvahs of deed. Because this is where the darkness of the world shows its inner light. At the end of the last line, behold, es levavcha, which is the last few words in the pasuk of Mol Havai Lekecha. Hashem will be mal, and what will he mal? Your heart and the heart of your offspring.
Hashem will be mal.
Huh?
Hashem will be
Mal.
Mal. Mila.
Okay.
And these words, Roshei Teves, these 4 words have the Roshei Teves. Roshei Teves of these 4 words is the first letters of these 4 words, spells the word El.
Oh, well.
And,
Hello. Hello.
that's the first time you hear it. It spells the word El.
No, I'm glad to hear it.
Okay. Spell the word El.
Aleph, Lamed.
And the opinion from this is that in Elul, this is when this is taking place. This Milo. This is in Elul. And the Rebbe explains behind the top line on page Kufman base. I know. And the point in this is shows that then in Elul hu hagilu milmaylo. This is when the Gilui, the revelation from above, is provided. Bechinas Rusa de Liba. This aspect is called the Rusa de Liba, the will from the heart. Shalamayla mitamadas, which is above tamadas. We already discussed this. That's everything, we go into once and then come out here a second time. Mitamadas, something that goes through the process, the intelligence process, becomes identified and made sense, so to speak, from a human perspective, human level. This which is given from above, the human mind cannot fathom it, cannot hold on to it. There's nothing to hold on to. Your mind gets overwhelmed in that presentation. How then is this provided, and what are the means by which this provision is accepted and has its effect? It is Rusa de Liba. It is the plain will directly from the heart. Where the heart expresses and shows and reveals its will, its desire in the locus. There is not the rationale behind it. It's not a comparison process. It is a direct recognition of this inyan. This is what I am. This is what I am. To give us a little bit of an illustration of this concept. For us to distinguish between one person and another person, we have a means to say, oh, he is taller, he is shorter. His facial expressions are different. His personality is different. There are all kinds of different things, these are which we identify a person from other people. But to distinguish between a human being and an animal, we don't know the human being is different than an animal, identify a human being because he walks on 2 instead of on 4. This is not how we identify a human being. From among all the creatures in the world, we identify a human being because a human being is directly identified to us. We know the essence of this human being. He is not a creature among creatures. We don't have to distinguish him against others. This knowledge is not something which goes through an intellectual process. This is what we innately know. The similar the similar recognition exists on different levels and exists all the way up to recognizing godliness, God. And that recognition is a dynamic recognition directly from the heart itself, from the life element in the human being. Not from his experience, not from his awareness, but from the fact of his life itself. This is the heart. This is what's called the Usa de Liebe, the desire of the heart. The full force of life is felt in the heart rather than in the mind. The mind is wonderful, but the mind has processes. Everything that the mind knows has forms, ideas. The heart goes to the point of life itself. This is Rusa de Liebe. In Rusa de Liebe there is the knowledge. Knowledge of a PALTIEL. There is the full experience, the full acceptance of the divine presence itself. This is called the Mala Mitamadas, above the reason. Reason cannot fathom this kind of cognizance. If you ask him, what are you drawn to, what do you want, he doesn't know the answer to that. The effect of this Gilui is his-hafcha chasheichon in hero. Darkness transforms into light, as we explained before. Darkness transforming into light does not mean that darkness is no longer not darkness. But the darkness itself brings forth light. Darkness itself speaks of his divine truth, of his divine presence. Okay, now we're on the second line, Kuf Nun Beis. His-hafcha shehu yinyan, which is also the principle which is expressed in the Pasuk, Unusome Havaya Lekecho. Havaya Lekecho, Hashem himself is the one who renders this, the opposition, the Nefesh Abam is to your hand. This is not something that you can conquer on your own. This can only occur when Hashem renders it to you.
It's true that part of the first step of submission is also a kind of havdalah, light, separating light from dark, right? Comes the second phase, there's hamtaka, or like we've said, transformation. The dark becomes light, but first, the separation, yeah? Part of that submission.
Yeah, the first is recognize that there is such thing as light. And this is superior to dark. This is the meaning from Mila.
Which we call his-hafcha.
His-hafcha. This is called his-hafcha because essentially the Nefesh Abamis remains what it is, except it is overwhelmed and it's forced to recognize or admit that there is something greater than itself. The Nefesh Elokis has it right, but it does not yet subscribe to that which Nefesh Elokis itself subscribes to.
Mm. And so the focus on that. Sorry, the focus at that point is this kind of separation, or like you just pointed out, there's a recognition that there is something light. So hence, all that darkness is kind of is like not desirable. Let's just put it that way.
That's right. You focus on that.
Yeah. So there's a havdalah. Comes later. There's sort of his-hafcha, like we've just been saying.
I don't know why you insist on Havdalah. It's true, it's Havdalah, but it's not.
Fine. It's just that I learned it elsewhere with this sort of
it's
hachna'ah, havdalah, hachna'ah, hamtaka.
Havdalah itself is not sufficient. It has to be submissive.
Hachna'ah.
Subdued.
Yeah.
Subdued. Iskafi means subdued.
Yeah. The second, right, and the second, what we're focusing on now, is some kind of, degree of light from within the darkness, or some kind of
is allowing the divine force that is contained in darkness to be so recognized.
Which we're calling his-hafcha.
Which is called his-hafcha.
The second, to be so recognized.
When the Nefesh Abahamis itself ceases to see its own mitzvahs, it sees the divine presence that makes it be.
Again, the behemoth does not see its own self. It now sees its origin. It sees the divine.
It sees the divine force that makes it be.
That's very interesting. Okay.
As we explained before, and I'm going to reiterate, the divine light that is recognized and accepted by the intellect is not a dynamic force. It comes in a certain form. It has a message. Divine light force that comes, that overwhelms the heart, tells you the truth of the divine truth from a divine perspective rather than from a worldly perspective.
So that Arusa de Liba is deeper than mind.
That's right.
And it goes beyond the limitations of form or distinction.
That's right. It completely bypasses it. It's not even interested in the form. It is focused directly on the source itself.
Right. And now instead of being lower than intellect, it's higher than. It's.
That's right.
What did you say? Instead of being focused on the form, it sees what? Instead of focusing on form, you said it perceives the essence.
Divine presence is not present on account of its form. Divine presence is not known in contrast to a counterpart. Divine presence is known, so to speak, on account of its omnipresence. It cannot be but present. This is a gift from above. This is not on the worldly scale. It is not really a presentation within that scale. In the worldly scale, the presentation means you come from not being to being. Divine presence is not presented in this vein. A person is struggling to earn a livelihood. He's working hard. And he recognizes all the kinds of competition. This guy is competing with me, from this side, competing with me, and I have to fight for my little turf. And therefore my existence and my procurement is all the time precarious. I may lose it any minute. But then, when he comes to full realization of what is really taking place in his life and in the existence of the world, he comes to realize you're not getting what you're getting from the world. You're getting what you're getting from the divine presentation. And God was holding this for you all the time. He was never absent. You didn't recognize its presence. But it was held there for you until you recognize this is yours. Like I say many times, even in a seichel, that you dig and you dig and dig and try to understand something until you say, oh, of course, I always knew that. Where's this always it's knowing from a different perspective, a different level of awareness. This different level of awareness exists at even a higher level and deeper level, all the way to the point where it's known only to the heart, only to life itself. So the rules of the Liba. Lo and behold, we still have a few minutes. Second line. At the end of the lesson, the first line. To effectuate that there should be his-hafcha, a transformation of darkness. Darkness itself should open up and show its light. Shehu inyan, which is the principle that is expressed in the pasuk. Hashem is the one who renders the enemy into your hand. And all of a sudden you see the enemy was meant for you to struggle and to reveal a greater good. Rak except in order to to merit that and to get this, there must be first kiseitzel hamilchama. That when you venture out to war, b'keach hatzmi, that you should struggle with keach hatzmi between your own means. To the utmost extent that he is able to affect in the nefesh habamis. Let me explain a little bit over here. Why does it have to be after this? There must be season of. This is not just that you should earn your pay, so to speak. You should deserve it. This is a necessary aspect in order for you to be able to accept this greater great gift. This struggle, b'keach hatzmi, brings out in you a capacity to accept a gift, milmailo, without being overwhelmed, or being able to accept it and benefit from it. Without the struggle, this gift milmailo will simply overwhelm.
It seems, just like Lefi Seichel, it seems like this type of thing goes in two directions. Some people have enormous hardships and they come out with a greatness of heart. Other people go through some kind of hardship and they become very verquetscht, very bent out of shape.
The bent out of shape result is due for one's hesitation to confront the enemy. When one does not consent to venturing out and confront your opposition, confront that which boggles you. You want to stay in your comfort zone. Then that becomes detrimental, that becomes destructive. This is why the Pasuk says, you must venture out and wage the war on your own. This is when you begin to identify and says, aha, here is what I'm missing. I thought I'm fine. I'm very comfortable in my own skin. I like my ice cream, even my cholent. I don't need anything else.
My roller skates.
My roller skates. I got it all made within your own confines. You have to venture out and start identifying where life is contained, and understand that the worldly experience per se is not a camouflage to the divine spirit.
Right. So just to think that through, we had the case of the guy, the mashal of the guy trying to make parnasa. So he's struggling. So it does seem like some people struggle and become bitter. By contrast, we're saying if you teitzei lemilchama, you go out to war and you confront worldliness per se and the struggle in the proper way, then you will prevail.
Then you will realize that all this struggle was due to the fact that the Rebbe was trying to bring out in you deeper qualities. And in fact, that is what brings it. Compare someone who is wealthy because he inherited a wealth, or he obtained wealth through his own struggle. There's no comparison. This is a very simple physical one. The same is on the ruchnische level.
Yeah. Guess that's why the Rebbe said, don't hold on to my gartel and get schlepped along.
That's right.
I want you to do your own thing.
Walk on your own, that's right. There's an expression, the Frierdiker Rebbe once said that those people, you know, the story of Yoina ben Amita, Yoina. He was in this boat and the boat was precarious, shaking. And he knew all along what this is all about. Until finally people came to him and said, what do we do? So he said, pick me up and throw me into the water. So the Rebbe transported this to the Abera Chassidim. Chassidim have to dive into the task that was given to them. Dive into it. This is what you were given. This is where your mission is. Forget about everything else. Just dive into this. So the Rebbe says there are those who are in the category and says, pick me up and throw me in. But this is not what we are interested to do, the Rebbe says. We want you to dive into on your own.
You mean he was taking Yonah as a negative example?
No,
No,
forget about that.
Just
No, you're not criticizing Yonah, just quoting the post. So, pick me up and throw me into the sea. No,
The Rebbe was saying, jump, throw yourself.
Take it on your own.
Yeah.
The best shluchim.
no, Yonah did that.
No, okay, fine. The best shluchim are it's offline. The best shluchim are those. The shluchim today. There was shluchim when the Rebbe used to send shluchim. Then the Rebbe stopped sending shluchim. You come with proposal where you want to go, and I'll say, okay. Today's shluchim, they do the research. Where is there a place to go to? They go there and they investigate and they say, okay, I want to go there. But I don't have a penny. You start collecting what's going on.
You're saying that's a certain milah.
It's not a certain matter. This is what makes it a real shliach.
Right. It may seem it's like lefi their own seichel, but you're saying no. It's
It's not their sorrow. It's their dedication. They jump into it.
okay.
They're shluchim before they become shluchim. They go around from 70 collecting $50 to accumulate a kitty so that he can go out in Hicktown someplace.
Pay their first month's rent.
First month's. Those are the real shluchim. This is what the Rebbe says. That in order to get this gift from above, there has to be first a venture out on your own.